Alrighty, finally done with classes for the day. Let's see what we got going on Twitter. Alright, so we got That's Good Sports, we got Funniest TikTok, we got well, let's hope they don't blow it. My Bruins friends, you have no idea how long I have waited to put this hat back on. Because we're finally getting into it. We are finally in the home stretch of waiting for the Boston Bruins season to start. We only have 22 days left. 22 sleeps. Sean Thornton, Willie O'Ree, number of sleeps left until we finally get to have the Boston Bruins. It's so good. It's so close. I can almost taste it. Before we get ahead of ourselves, we have a little bit of time left. And you know what a little bit of time left calls for? It calls for training camp. And just today, the Boston Bruins have announced their training camp roster. So you know what? Just like I did with the Prospect Challenge, we're gonna go into the Bruins. We're going to go into the Bruins training camp roster, and that's going to happen right now. So this is the Boston Bruins 2023 training camp roster. We're gonna get into pretty much every single name here, and at the end of it, we're going to go on to Cap Friendly and make what I think is going to be our opening night roster. But I think before we get into this, we have a little bit of news, a little bit of perhaps unexpected news. According to Phil Carter on Twitter, Boston sports reporter, 15 years, we're getting a captaincy announcement within the next week. Now there are two really big, the two names that are being thrown around are Brad Marchand and Charlie McAvoy. And honestly, if it were up to me, I would give the C to McAvoy. I think honestly, for two reasons. First of all, Brad Marchand, part of what you need to do as a captain is kind of appeal yourself to the refs. So you kind of have to play to them just a little bit. And Brad Marchand, he loves to play to the crowd. He loves to be a little bit of a heel. And unfortunately, the refs don't like that. McAvoy, absolute sportsman. He is incredibly respectful. He's great at his job. He's great, and ultimately this comes to the second point. McAvoy is signed for the next 7 years, and he is also significantly younger than Brad Marchand. So if you want to usher in a new younger era of the Boston Bruins, the correct move would be to give the C to McAvoy. Now, for the assistant, now for the A's, the names being thrown around are Carlo, Lucic, and Pastrnak, and I'd assume that Marchand, and I'd assume that whoever doesn't get the C is also in contention for the A. I think honestly, we usually have one guy hold on to the A for the entire season, and the other one gets shuffled around a little bit. I think Marchand is gonna take home the permanent A, and Carlo is going to get the lion's share of the rotating A. Carlo, people like to clown on him. I think that he doesn't deserve a lot of the criticism that he gets. it's around here. Sure, he's not as great of an offensive defenseman, but in terms of like pure defense, he's one of the best in the game. And also, if I'm not mistaken, he's the Bruins rep for the NHLPA. So I wouldn't be surprised if Carlo ends up as the main stakeholder of the rotating A. Now, let's get on to the training camp roster. So, on to forwards. Nerds. Now, all the names here are a mix of either invites, it's names we've seen in the Prospect Challenge, and players we know are on the team, and Danton Heinen. So our forwards in training camp. We have Joey Abate, Vincent Arsenault, Johnny Beecher, Jesper Vokvist, Justin Brazeau, Patrick Brown, Alex Chason, Charlie Coyle, Jake DeBrusk, John Farinacci, Trent Frederick, Morgan Geekie, AJ Greer, Curtis Hall, Brett Harrison, and Danton Heinen, Jacob Lauko, Fabian Lysell, Milan Lucic, Brad Marchand, Mark McLaughlin, Jason Megna, Georgi Merkulov, David Pastrnak, Owen Peterson, Matt Patra, Anthony Richard, Oscar Steen, Luke Toporowski, James Van Riemsdyk, and Pavel Zacha. For defensemen, Frederick Burnett, Michael Callahan, Brandon Carlo, Jackson Edwards, Derek Forbort, Matt Grzelcyk, Hampus Lindholm, Mason Lohrei, Ryan Mast, Charlie McAvoy, Ian Mitchell, Alec Regula, Dan Renouf, Ethan Ritchie. No more goddamn Ritchies. He's not related to Nick or the other Ritchie, but still, no more Ritchies. Kevin Shattenkirk, Riley Walsh, Parker Wotherspoon, and Jacob Zaboral. And for goaltenders, we have Brandon Bussi, Michael DiPietro, Kyle Kaiser, Shane Starrett, Jeremy Swayman, and Linus Ullmark. Honestly, considering the this is kind of this is a decent training camp roster. I mean, we all know that a lot of these guys are not going to end up at the a lot of these guys are not going to end up making the opening night roster, other than the ones that like we already know that they are. But honestly, given how prospect camp has been going, particularly with Brett Harrison. I remember in dev camp, I was really not impressed with Harrison. He really liked to shy away from any sort of contact. But in the prospect challenge, he has an NHL shot already. He is electric on an offense. He just cannot throw the body around. And I know that's kind of our MO here, but Harrison, if all goes well, he could see himself up over the next few years. It's probably not this year. What is it? I know Lohrei particularly has not exactly had a great prospect challenge, which is really disappointing because he's pretty much our second best prospect right now. And is kind of expected to crack the bottom four. Beecher's been all right in dev camp, not dev camp, freaking prospect challenge. Where is he? Lysell has been pretty good. Patra's been pretty good. Brunet has been not great. Neither has been Ryan Mast. Jackson Edwards been okay. But ultimately, this is what we're here for. This right here is what we all are here for. Who I think is going to make the opening night roster. And we're just going to shuffle things around a little bit. Patrick Brown, you are not making opening night roster. I can tell you right now, he's not going to make it. Morgan Geekie. Morgan Geekie, I can see being a very, very useful part of our bottom six. This is gonna sound weird. James Van Riemsdyk in the top 6. Thanks. I know I don't entirely feel comfortable with that, and I know that, and he's probably gonna end up somewhere down the, and he's probably not gonna stay there the entire season, but that's just probably where he's gonna be for opening night roster. Lauko. I think, you know what? I think Lauko ends up on the, I think Lauko ends up on the opening night roster. I think Greer gets the healthy scratch. Also, DeBrusk on the top line and with Marchand. DeBrusk on top line with Marchand worked out so well last season. And you know what? Something that I could potentially see us trying out. Lauko up to the 2. Frederick to fourth line right wing. Lucic still on left on fourth line left wing, because for the love of God, this team has a very unhealthy obsession with trying to market Milan Lucic. But I could see us trying out a new fandangled. I could see us trying out a new fandangled frickin' checkmate line. And Zacha played decently well in the absence of Krejci during the incident. But let's continue. Lysell, of all of our prospects, I think has the best shot of cracking opening night roster. I think you could actually move Geeky to third line in center. Lysell up to third line right wing. I think honestly, this is gonna be hard, because Frederick has great rapport with this team and fan base already. I think that honestly he could, and he's been here longer. I think honestly he could probably, he's probably gonna end up starting on the third line. But Frederick's usually been our go-to guy on the bottom. He's usually been reliable on at any spot in the bottom 6. Thanks. So I'm not gonna lie, I don't see too much difference in putting Lysell at third line in right wing, and putting Frederick at third line in right wing. I don't think that there's too much of it. I don't think that there's too much of a difference being seen there. Now, on the left, to the left, if, and this is a big if Georgi Merkulov, and this is a big if if for some reason this organization decides we're gonna bench Milan Lucic in our top, we're gonna bench Milan Lucic for the opening night, which I really don't think that they're going to, because this is the game to kick off their centennial season, and the whole reason why we brought back Lucic was for the nostalgia, and any centennial celebration is filled with nostalgia. But in the very, very, very low chance that Lucic gets benched, I think it's going to be Merkulov in this top. I think Merkulov is going to end up in this mix. Merkulov is probably going to end up in our middle 6 at some. He's probably going to, and if he gets the call up, which he definitely will, he's going to get the call up at some point this season, and so I'm just predicting what happens in that case. When Merkulov eventually gets the call up, he's going to end up in the bottom 9. He's not going to challenge Marchand for top from top line left wing. I think on his height, his peak is probably second line. And Merkel, but I think he's going to slot in perfectly in the in third line and left wing. He is fast. He's efficient. He can generate offense. The only problem is that he is not that great on defense. Just full disclosure, he's not great on defense. And so, but he's learning. He is learning. From what I've heard the big thing to get him to actually answer the call on defense is getting him to understand why. I don't understand. I don't personally understand it. But check out Short Shift podcast for this. Check out the Short Shift podcast for more insight on that. Shout outs to Ian and Thomas and Andrew. Thank you guys for shouting me out last week on your podcast.
And me and Into the Den are watching this with our mouths agape, like, what the fuck is this?
That's our 7th rounder. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
But Merkelov, he's gonna slot in nicely on the top, nicely in the third line, in left wing. I mean, now for center depth is kind of got fucking kneecapped. We kind of got Tanya Harding here. Why? But next man up in center is John Beecher. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. No other. There might be prospects that we have at center that have potentially a higher ceiling than Beecher. Patra is someone I believe has a higher ceiling. Harrison, he's got a low as hell floor, but the ceiling is pretty high. Beecher, I think, is the most NHL ready center prospect that we have, and that very much includes Tweedledee and Tweedledum right here. Mark McLaughlin, I think honestly at this point it's time for him to shit or get off the pot. He was supposed to make the opening night roster out of training camp last season, and they were pretty much saying it on. They were saying it on Behind the B last season. The first episode where they're actually dealing with hockey stuff. They were saying, what is it? Freaking Sweeney and Monty were saying, look, there's a really good shot that you make it out of training camp, Mark. And he didn't. He could not get out of. He could not make the opening night roster out of training camp. And honestly, at that point, I was like, okay, his NHL aspirations are kind of in jeopardy. He can be a fantastic player at the AHL. I don't think he's gonna make a big splash at the NHL. Well, he missed his shot. Oscar Steen, same way. I think Steen, Steen is decent. I like him. But I don't think that with the amount of chances that he's been given, that he is going to make much of whatever chance that he gets. So Steen and McLaughlin, I like you both. Should or get off the pot. In terms of defense, defense. There's really only one player there's really only one prospect that is going to get an NHL look this season, and as much of a soft spot as I have for Ryan Mast, and he's not on here, but Jackson Edward, neither of them are NHL ready. I love Jackson Edward. He was my favorite player to watch. He was like my second favorite player to watch at Dev Camp, with Andrew from Short Shift, but he has the tool. He very much has the toolbox. He doesn't. Actually, no. He has the tools, but no toolbox, if that makes sense. Lorai, not only is he the most NHL ready of all our defensive prospects, but he legitimately has this promise. And honestly, I could see him potentially slotting in with Carlo. Now, the thing is Lorai is big. Lorai is big. He is 6'4", I think 220. That's a big man. That is about as big as Brandon Carlo, who's 6'5", 230, I think. But in any case, Lorai is more of an offensive defenseman, and I think that pairs really well with Carlo being one of the best defensive defensemen in the entire league. I think Lorai can generate the offense where Carlo is very much inefficient at, and Carlo can fill in whatever gaps that Lorai doesn't get in falling back on defense. The only issue with that is that's already Carlo's gig with Lindholm, and as much as I like Lindholm, don't get me wrong, I freaking love Lindholm. What I am proposing is, mix it up a little bit. Don't put Lorai and Carlo on the same pairing, even 35 games out of 82. I don't think that you spend nearly half the season with this as your second pair. But don't leave this out of the equation. Leave this out of the equation, but not this. Lorai and Carlo, I feel, could potentially be a really good pairing, and that's really all I have to say about it. Now, so that really leaves for opening night roster. In terms of starting lines and potential for potential for one reserve in each spot. I know that's not how all this goes. I know that's not how roster building go. I know that's not how NHL rosters go, but still. And I know it says that we're over $2 million over the cap. Fuck it. Fuck it. This is just me spitballing here. But this is what I think will be opening night roster. Top line: Marchand, Coyle, DeBrusque. Second line: Lauko, Zacha, Pasternak. Third line: Merkulov, Geeky, Frederick. Fourth line: Van Riemsdyk, Boqvist, Lysell. And then in reserves: Lucic, Beecher, Greer. For defense, top pair: Grzelcyk, McAvoy. Second pair: Lorai, Carlo. Actually, no. Lindholm, Carlo. Lindholm, Carlo is going to be the second pair to start. Third pair is going to be Lorai, Shattenkirk. I have not talked about Kevin Shattenkirk being on the Bruins. I'm not going to lie, it still feels weird. And reserves: Derek frickin' Forbort and Ian Mitchell. For goaltenders, I mean, it's not really anything to say. It's not really anything. What do I have to say here? William M. Jennings trophy winning goalie tandem right here. Ullmark and Swayman. And I think honestly, at some point during this season, we are going to see Brandon Bussi. He is going to be bussin', I tell you, bussin'. But I think honestly, Bussi is Bussi's gonna make his first NHL start at some point. But yeah, this is really what I'm thinking could be our opening night roster. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.